Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another first impression follow-up video. You guys really enjoyed the last one and I realized that I do so many first impressions and I don't follow up a lot of the time. So I'm going to go through a bunch of products. We're going to move quickly. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on them, if I recommend them, if I think they're just so-so, if I think they're amazing. So as always, I will have everything linked down below. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe, and let's jump into my full reviews of products that I've tried in first impression videos. I'm going to start off today with this Milani Sun Tan Silky Matte Bronzer. So when you saw me use this in a video, I actually had a little bit of a grabbing on my cheek. I think it was right here. And I thought, is that the bronzer? Because usually I don't have that issue. And I felt like, oh, maybe this doesn't blend as well as I've heard. Everybody's been raving about it. But I have used it multiple times since then, and I can tell you that I really like this bronzer. This is the shade 03 Suntan. It is a little bit cool tone, so you could also use this to contour. It's not like super warm. It's not like MAC Give Me Sun or something like that. But I think they have different shades. I'm not sure if they all are cool toned or some of them lean warm. This blends beautifully. It doesn't get muddy. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if that day maybe I just had some wet concealer or something like that. But upon using this more, I highly recommend it if you're looking for a nice drugstore bronzer. I know there's a bunch out right now, but my final review is that this is really nice. I must have just had kind of like a weird first impression. Another drugstore product I've raved about, but in case you missed my favorites video, this is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I have used and abused this bad boy and it's still rocking. I know it's really hard to find, but if you can get your hands on this, highly recommend it. I like it more than the Tatcha. It's just nice and smoothing. I don't even have to dig in. I just really kind of run my finger in and apply it, and it just smooths the skin. It doesn't make me greasy. It's just a really nice base for makeup. I think they killed it on this, so if you've been eyeing it, keep an eye out, girl, and get your hands on this. I know it's like constantly sold out, and I think because it's amazing and it's like really affordable, so really like this. I know that I've like mentioned it, but I wanted to give you a final update that I highly recommend. Also from e.l.f., I highly recommend the 16-Hour Camo Concealer. I have this shade Light Beige. I really like this. I don't feel like it's super drying. I don't feel like it's really creasy. It gives you a nice coverage. It's really affordable. It has that big doe foot applicator like the Shape Tape, and it's just really nice and smoothing under the eyes. It gives you the coverage that you need. So I really enjoy this. This is probably my new favorite drugstore concealer. Again, I feel like drugstores are like bringing out so many different concealers. There's a lot of really nice ones, but this one is my favorite. A really solid drugstore foundation, I'm sure you're not going to be surprised, is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. I have the shade 455 Natural Buff. This is a great staple foundation. It lasts all day. It's not drying, but it's also not like super slippy or dewy. It's just kind of fresh wear, like it says. It's like skin, but it gives you a great coverage. I don't think it's the most smoothing in terms of like pore area. It doesn't accentuate them, but it's not as smoothing as some other foundations. I'm impressed with how long it lasts on the skin without being really drying. I know some of the other L'Oreal Infallibles in the squeeze tube can be really drying and matte. So I really like it. I like that it has a pump. I think this is a staple product from the drugstore, one of my favorite drugstore foundations that I've tried in a long time. Moving on to the Glossier Perfecting Skin Tint. I tried this in a first impressions and I was shocked at how much coverage I got. I feel like I like this more so to mix in with other foundations. If I was going to use this alone, the only way that I would use it alone would be if I was going to the gym, or I really just needed to take the edge off of my redness and I just wanted like barely just like a, you know, light tint. I can build this up, but I use a lot of it, like 4 different squeezes, and it, you know, that's like wasteful. So for me, this would be something that I would mix in with a matte foundation or a foundation that I want to sheer out a little bit just to give me more of that healthy glow. I do feel really glowy and natural in this, so I wouldn't use this with like full coverage or like a night out kind of glam, but if I'm like day to day, maybe I'm going to a cookout or something like that, I could see myself using this more in the summertime when I just want, you know, really natural makeup. I'm actually in shock that I don't absolutely hate this. I thought that I was gonna hate it, but I think it's nice. It's just, I think it's a little overpriced for what it is. Another foundation that I reviewed and I kept trying and then I picked up the full size is the Laura Mercier Flawless Lumiere Radiance Perfecting Foundation. I really like this because it gives you that healthy, dewy look, but it's not greasy and it doesn't separate. It lasts all day. I mean, it lasts as long as like my double wear or something like that, except for it just gets a little bit shiny. So I feel like you're gonna have to like blot maybe like after the 6 or 7 hour mark, and then you can keep going and then blot once more. But it doesn't get greasy, it doesn't separate, it makes my skin look nice and smooth. I just don't notice anything bad about it. It's almost just like a natural radiant foundation. It just gives you enough coverage to cover everything that you need to cover up, but it's not like full cake face like a MAC Studio Fix or something like that. So it's something that I use a lot. I would use this for full glam. I just use a little bit more, but for every day, a couple pumps just blended all over the skin. I feel like it's just a nice everyday foundation that's gonna get you through kind of the wear time that you need, because a lot of foundations, they're so beautiful when you first put them on, but if they don't last after a few hours, it's pointless. Next up, I have these NARS Super Radiant Booster Drops. Well, it's not drops, I guess, illuminator. I really like this. I thought this was gonna be kind of gimmicky. I just swatched it on my hand and I thought I wouldn't like it. I feel like a lot of times the highlighters that you put under your foundation, they can either dry down completely and almost get dry and, what's the word, like crusty, or they can be really oily and then your foundation won't stick. This is kind of nice, and it's in the middle. Like it dries down to just like a nice kind of moisturizing, moussey feel, but it really does add a nice glow. You can mix it in with your foundation. Now, I really like this, but I think you can find a more affordable option. It is pricey, it is NARS, but it's one of the products from NARS lately that has really stood out to me and something that I would use. You could also mix this in with your lotion and put it on your chest. So I see myself using this, but it is pricey and I think you could probably find a dupe at the drugstore. Next up, I have the Becca Chloe Malika palette to talk about. So I'm torn on this palette because, quite frankly, I do not like the blushes. They are really that like shiny, illuminating, peachy blush, and I don't like how shimmery they are. I just feel like they accentuate texture and make you look like you have pores right here. I do really enjoy the highlighter and I do like the bronzer in here. It's really warm. It gives you like a nice warm glow for summer, but I think you can get a bronzer at the drugstore. I do like this highlight, but again, you could get like a Becca mini highlighter and just kind of be good to go. So I don't think that I would tell you to invest in this palette overall unless you love peachy, shimmery blushes. Like this blush right here is really shimmery and it's like peachy. It's like almost highlighter. I mean, that doesn't look like a blush to me. This one is a little bit more wearable, but still has that shine. I'm just not into it. I feel like it just looks like you put highlighter on your cheeks, quite frankly. So this is not a favorite of mine. I don't dislike it, but I would not say, you know, go out and get it right now. A palette that I used in a video quite a while back, and no one really said anything about it, but I liked it on first impression. I thought maybe it was a little glittery. Upon using it more, I actually really like it. This is the Colourpop Dream Sequins palette. It is a 4-pan highlighting palette, and this shade up here that I thought was really glittery reminds me so much of the Fenty Beauty diamond, is it the How Many Carats diamond highlighter? Like so much. It's that super icy, kind of glittery highlight, and this pink is stunning as well. You have kind of like a, I don't know, like a peachy highlight, and then you have more of like a gold bronze highlight, which is the most subdued, but I like this palette a lot. I feel like I would use this palette more so, like I said, for this really shimmery shade, which is the Run right there, and I would use it just on the top of my cheekbones, on my inner corner, down the center of my nose. Speaking of, why not? I just think it's gorgeous, and my first impression I think was a little bit like, but I think using it more and using it kind of as a topper really made me more intrigued by the product. These are the Super Shock kind of formula, but they feel nice. They worked with a brush. I didn't have any issues. So I do really like this. I've been meaning to tell you guys about it and I just keep setting it aside and forgetting. I just checked, it's still available, but if you like glittery, really icy highlighters, like a highlight topper, like the How Many Carats, I think you would really enjoy this. Another product from Colourpop that I do enjoy is their Colourpop Volumizing Mascara. Now I've only tried the black one because that's really only the color that I will use. But I do like this. I feel like it's more of a dry formula, which I actually prefer. It doesn't get all over. I feel like this is a more volumizing mascara, as it says. It's not one that's gonna give you crazy length, but I feel like I like this for every day because it's just quick and easy. It doesn't get super clumpy, just gives me enough volume to get out the door. I like it on my lower lash line as well too, and I think for the price it's really nice. Now I haven't noticed any flaking or transferring. That is not something I deal with, and I don't know if it's because I set my under eyes so heavily. I cannot remember the last time I had a mascara transfer on me. I know a lot of people have issues with that, so I can't speak on that, but for me I didn't, and I like it. It's kind of top drawer. It's just something I use every day. Like when I'm going to the gym or the grocery store, I just kind of pop it on and roll. So I wanted to mention that I am liking this. Next, I wanted to touch on these Huda Beauty Metal Matte eyeshadows. I did kind of touch on it in a previous video the second time I used them, but I want to give you my final thoughts because I've been seeing some bad reviews and I want to tell you my thoughts. So the one side that has the matte side, I honestly think it's just kind of a wash. I don't think it's practical to kind of dot it on and then blend it out. I don't think it's going to be as seamless as a powder. So I think it's innovative that she did that, but that's not how I would use them. I really like the metal side or the shimmery side. Now these are very similar to the Stila Magnificent Metals. There's so many liquid eyeshadows, but I like the applicator on this, and that's why I keep reaching for them. The colors are beautiful, but the applicator is like a lip gloss applicator. I wish more companies would do this because you can just literally carve it on. And the key to this is don't pack on, 10 layers of it. You kind of want to apply your layer, shear it out, and then you want to let it set. You don't want to keep building and building and building because it will get chunky, it will get cracky, it will flake off. But if you just do your one layer and kind of, spread out the edges a little bit, I think it's beautiful. I've, worn them a few times and I'm really happy with them. I've worn a few different colors. But again, if you're someone that's like, oh, I don't want to pay for, a double-sided product when I'm only going to use the one side, I totally get it. I feel like there's a specific consumer that's really gonna like these. They can be a little bit fussy, but they are beautiful when you apply them the correct way. You just have to kind of be careful with your application. Wanted to update on the Benefit Roller eyeliners. Okay, I don't dislike these. I think these are nice because they are really deep in color and they are matte. But I have to say I am so picky with my eyeliner, especially if I'm doing a wing and I am sticking with my M Cosmetics brush tip liner or my Artist of Makeup. I like this, I will use it, but it's not going to replace my, tried and true. I mean, they are really pigmented. I mean, you can see that is dark. That is one swipe. It's dark. This is the deep brown. They also have a black. So I've used them a handful of times and I do like them. They do dry down matte. So for me, I use this more if I'm just doing a line, or I use it to kind of cover up lash glue, kind of top off. But for that precise wing, I need the control of the kind of liners that I like, and I know they're hard to get, and they're like, you can't get them at Sephora or Ulta, but they're just my favorites. They've worked for me for so long, and I've tried a bunch of new eyeliners and I just don't feel like I have that same kind of ease of a wing. So while I like this, it's okay. I will use it. When I'm doing my winged liner, I want something that's quick, easy, that I'm not struggling with. If my hand shakes a little bit, it's not going to, bleed all over. So I do like this, but I still think that I have other favorites that make my winged liner a lot more effortless. Next, I want to talk about the Urban Decay brow products. I am so picky with my brows, and you guys, I just cannot be swayed from the Benefit Precisely My Brow or a pomade. Like I've been using the Morphe pomade. So I just don't love these. I am very picky. I've tried so many different products, and again, it's like my eyeliners. I want it to be easy. I want to be able to outline my brows and then fill them in. My favorite product from the new Urban Decay would be the Double Down Brow, because this is a more natural kind of waxy powder. I feel like I can use this to fill in. I could use this any day or on more natural days, but in terms of like getting that sharp brow line, I'm still loving the Precisely My Brow from Benefit. So that's just my take on it. Brows are very personal. I don't think the new Urban Decay products are bad, but they just haven't replaced my favorites. Also wanted to update you guys on this Dior Backstage contouring palette. So my thoughts on this is I do like it, but I only use basically one shade in here. So I don't know if I would tell you to run out and grab this. I would almost say get like Benefit Hoola or get a Benefit palette or something like that to use the shades. Also, like the Urban Decay Shapeshifter palette, I've used the light shade to really highlight, and then also the contours. They do have a light shade in here, but I don't know if it's light enough. To me, this almost looks like a tan, so I don't think that I would use that to really like highlight under my eye. So while I do like it, I feel like for the price, I'm really only using one shade. I will use it up, but for someone that's like looking for a contour palette or, just like an everyday staple, I feel like this is a little bit overpriced for how much you're going to use of it. So if you want to splurge, it's nice, but I kind of look back and I'm like, well, I'm only going to use one shade, so I'm a little bit kind of like, why did I buy that? Next, I want to talk about a few products that I actually returned or decluttered. I'm going to start off with the Chloe, Malika, Becca little letters, like the little illuminating letter bronzer things. I thought the packaging was super cheap, and honestly, it wasn't that mind-blowing on the skin. It gave you a nice glow, but you can get that with so many different products, and it was messy. I just didn't understand it. I would have rather had a pressed kind of illuminating bronzer or something like that. I just thought the packaging was really cheap, and when you opened it, it kind of flew everywhere. It was just kind of irritating for not that, you know, pretty of a payoff. I would highly recommend the iconic London All Over Glow if you want something similar to that, but even better. Or even there's a Model's Own kind of glowy bronzer highlighter duo. So I just wasn't impressed with it. I decluttered it because it just wasn't something I saw myself using. Another update that is probably gonna surprise you guys, but the Fenty concealer and the powder I ended up returning. I started using them more and more and more, and I just felt like I had these blue kind of just like veins or blue darkness under my eyes. No matter how much of that concealer that I applied, I felt like it was really dry, almost like it sheared out to like a cakey dryness, which I've never experienced. I don't technically think that I have really dark under eyes. It's not like a problem of mine. So when I can't get a concealer to cover up my under eyes, I think it's like, whoa, this is weird. So I just wasn't into it. It just looked chalky and almost sheared out. So I returned that, and then the powder really like felt dry. It's like when I applied it, and I think I mentioned in the video, it was like tight, almost like shriveling up, and I just didn't like the feeling of it. It just looked so dry, and I'm not really overly dry. I mean, I like to powder my face. So after using them more and more and more, I just was like, I don't like this. I like my Too Faced Born This Way. I like my Tarte Shape Tape, the e.l.f. concealer. There's so many other concealers I like. I felt like I'd apply it and then I'd start blending it out, and then it would just like shear away and I'd have like blue under eyes. So I ended up returning it. I know everybody is different, but for me, even on a natural day, I would much rather take my e.l.f. concealer and just dot a couple dots and blend it out and be done. The Fenty, I felt like I had to do 2 or 3 layers, and then it started creasing. It just wasn't my favorite, so I ended up returning them, which I like most of her stuff, but some of it is a little bit of a miss for me. So unfortunately, it just didn't work out for me. I know a lot of people are kind of, I think people either really like the natural look, or they're like, this didn't do anything for me, and I was in the second boat. Alright guys, so that is it for me and my first impression follow-up. Hopefully I talked about products that you were wondering about. If there's something that I've used or that you're wondering about my final kind of review, comment down below. I try to kind of just take a big group of things and talk about them, and I'll keep doing that moving forward. Some might slip through the cracks, so let me know down below and I can give you my rundown if there's something that you're wondering about. I hope this helped you guys. I tried to move quick and give you my thoughts. So thank you guys again for watching. Please subscribe if you are new here, and I'll see you in the next video.